Laugh out loud, it's the place to be, where geeky minds meet so naturally. From pixel legends to blockbuster heart, dive right in, let's set this vibe apart.
Yes, laugh out loud, everybody. It is the place to be. Another episode of the BM show. And actually we got something interesting happening on this show, and something interesting that's not happening on this show but should have. And we're going to I'll discuss those with you here. So Ben, I'm going to take the floor for a minute or 10, if that's cool with you.
Sure, go right ahead.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So we are now back to the BM squared. Kind of. So we've got some stories here to share with you. First off, the return of Matt.
Dun, dun, dun.
Say hi, Matt.
I have returned.
Okay, so let me tell you what happened here. So,
is it one of those things like a soap opera, or was it Matt? It was his twin brother?
No, dude. So last we left, the last message I got from Matt was he was still orbiting SR-388, and he had his girlfriend out there that
Does he have a Metroid problem?
And she got pregnant. Well, I got a message from him a couple days ago. He said he was back. He returned back because here's what happened. So, Matt, I'm probably going to butcher her name, but I believe your girlfriend out in space outside SR-388, her name, if I can say this right, because it's like 30 letters with no vowels, it was something along the lines of that. Am I close?
Yeah, just a little more back in the throat.
Okay. But,
in order for you to pronounce it correctly, I would have to rip out your tongue.
But because it was so hard to pronounce, you gave her the nickname, because you're so smart, you gave her the nickname Brain. So, well, as we know, Brain became pregnant. And if you've ever seen like a male seahorse give birth, that's kind of what happened with Brain. And on your message, I read, you said, oh my gosh, Brain has had so many children, and they are just sucking all the energy out of me. They just latch on to me, and they just suck my energy tank and my reserve tanks dry.
It's like frog fingers.
I'm
with
so
the suckers on
weak
them.
that the only thing I can do is curl up in a ball to blow my way out of there. I've tried giving them 5 shots, but it's not working. If only I could just freeze them in place first.
If only you could take out the mother brain.
Then they would be the one to fall to pieces rather than me. So then that's why all of a sudden Matt fled, which I guess makes him a deadbeat intergalactic father. And now the galaxy is not at peace. So hopefully some guy will stand up and save us, or some woman. We're not picky. So hopefully, if it is a woman, hopefully it's a really hot blonde lady that either looks good in a blue onesie or a swimsuit.
Yeah, but she's got blonde hair all over every bit of her, though.
No, I just think her head would be good. And maybe
no, you haven't even seen her.
Skilled in the art of gunnery.
The art of gunnery?
And I don't know, is that an art?
Well, describe it to me. What do you mean by art of gunnery?
Shooting things.
You know what? I'll let it stand. It's not right, but it works.
And you know what? Let's not even. She didn't have to carry around a gun. Let's just put a gun on her. Okay. Put her in a big yellow
she has death ray eyes,
suit,
dude.
Put a gun on her.
Don't you even listen to what I say? You don't even remember she's got death ray eyes, dude. Come on.
Dude, I think Matt's the only one that's not getting it. And Matt was the one outside SR-388.
Matt, these are all Metroid references.
Okay. I got a little bit of that. I didn't know the whole thing was.
So the point is,
I knew as soon as he said the name of the planet, I knew what game he was going to talk about. Okay, go ahead.
So Matt's back. Now we should also there's also another person who's back, but unfortunately, when I tell you what's happened, you can understand why he's not here for the BM Squared reunion show. So we all know our good friend Demon Slayer.
Yes.
Demon Slayer had something interesting happen a couple weeks ago. He got his dream contract. So he got the contract to go down and take out Lucifer himself. So what he did was he started digging a hole in his backyard, but ended up on the other side of the world. He didn't get there.
He missed hell completely and ended up.
He missed it completely. So we had to think of a way to get him assistance to get directions to the Great Fire. We decided to hold a seance and see who would answer. Lo and behold, Barrett answered. And he said his first words were, "Get me out of here. It's hot down here."
Because Barrett was in hell.
We don't know. We just know it's hot where he was.
Okay.
So basically, thank you to all our VIP members. With your payments, we were actually way back able to afford a cryo chamber. So when Barrett had his gasoline fight accident, we froze his charcoal body. And we brought it out of freezing. We figured that if it defrosted, I mean, if it's burnt and then we freeze it, it kind of cancels each other out. But that didn't happen. Luckily, we have a doctor in our group. And that doctor is the famous Dr. G, which is no relation to Matt at all.
Even though they have the same voice.
Even though they're just, Dr. G is a doctor, so he's been able to manipulate his vocal cords to sound like Matt, so that we're not feeling.
So he's the doctor of he's the doctor of voices.
Remember what his song went? My name is Dr. G. I'm the doctor of all of this. He can do anything. He's a mad scientist. So Dr. G was able to resurrect Barrett. And who would have known that all you have to do when somebody has a freak gasoline fight, give them a little frozen yogurt and they're fine. So we could, granted we could say Barrett's back and he'd say, hey. But unfortunately, because the Demon Slayer dug such a big hole in his backyard, Barrett's still filling it up. So he couldn't be with us tonight. But he's back.
I would have said that Demon Slayer did a seance to contact the spirit of Barrett, and then Barrett inhabited his body. That would have been my explanation.
But you would have been lying then. We can't lie to our viewers. We can't give false stories.
That's true. Yes, we can't lie to our viewers.
We can't tell them something that didn't happen. We got to be straight with them.
Yeah. Yep.
So on
we could be gay with him. It's okay.
So technically tonight we're back to being the BM squared, but technically tonight we're the square rooted BM squared, or square rooted B times M squared, I guess would be the way to say it.
We're B plus M squared.
Yeah, you could put it that way also.
All right. You guys gonna tell me what we're talking about today?
Our topic is when the time is right. I will share it. So
that's a weird topic. Okay.
It is. It actually is. But before that, we do have something that we need to go over quick. So I still have the mic. I'm sorry, guys. I know you're wanting to talk. But I do have to go over this quick. I'm gonna make this as quick as I can, but I want to get out there. So here we go. It's time for what genre do you like? What do you want to play? Let me help you save on what you've got to pay. So it's time to start talking about things that are up for free, and then a couple of things that you have to fork some money out on. Let's start with Epic Games. This week on Epic Games, for free, you can pick up the game Behind the Frame, The Finest Scenery, which is normally like a $13 game. I believe it's some sort of like a puzzle game or adventure puzzle game. If you're looking for something that's going to, okay, I didn't look into this game at all, so it's going to do something, but it's free, so it's a free something. So take a look at it. I gotta admit, it's got kind of a nice art style to it.
It's Sync Simulator with a little painting mini game. That's what it is.
Exactly. Thank you, Matt, who's not related to Dr. G in any way.
Mhm.
Coming up next week, we have Undying. Ooh, it's got even big letters there. And this is going to be an adventure horror game, which is, I guess, a lot like the adventure puzzle game, depending on how well your brain works. So look forward to this one coming out on Thursday. If you want to pick it up, saves you $20. So don't buy it right now. Just be patient and wait a bit. That's it for Epic. Then we go to Prime, and Prime actually had a pretty good drop, starting with an actual big game, which would actually be Deus Ex, the Game of the Year edition. Now, I want to point out this not Game of the Year edition 2024. This is like Game of the Year edition 2001 when Deus Ex came out. And I believe this is going to be free through GOG. So if you haven't played this, yeah, you might want to start now because you're about 5 games in the series behind. But the good news is you can start for free and then you can pay for the rest. Also on Prime Gaming, you've got Zombie Army 4 Dead War. And this is like, I guess you could say, kind of like a Resident Evil style third-person shooter type game that is online co-op. So if you have some buddies online, because we don't really have them in person anymore, this might be something you might want to pick up. They also have, if you don't like taking care of zombies, you can take care of animals in To the Rescue. I believe it's some sort of like an animal shelter simulator type of game. So if you feel like shooting zombies is not your style and you miss Nintendogs, To the Rescue might be the direction you want to go.
Actually,
Also,
if you look at it, the dog is eating the lady. It's zombie dogs.
That's true. And then if you look at it, like this other dog behind her is chasing the little boy and is trying to eat his foot.
You can see that dog is going,
Exactly. And I think the dog where the girl's throwing the ball, the dog might be looking more at her hand than the ball.
Yeah.
So if you like zombies and you like dogs, you might want to go To the Rescue.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Star Stuff, which I failed to look into really what this game was. I'm sorry. I believe it's a puzzle game, maybe. Yep, it's a puzzle adventure type game. So if the Beyond the Painting isn't doing it for you, pick up Star Stuff. That's also free. Maybe that one will do you in. And then finally, the other free Prime Gaming game right now is Spitlings, which is another multiplayer type game, which actually is, from what I understand, it's a multiplayer to where if one player loses, everyone loses. So there's no like, oh, I'm out of lives, let me sit around and do nothing for a while and watch everybody else play. So it's really dependent on the whole team working as a team. I don't know if I actually got this to see if it goes online, and I haven't seen anything that shows that this version goes online, but I might just be missing it, so you may want to pick it up. That's it for the free stuff. Now, I did mention that I was going to talk about Steam this time. Unfortunately, I'm not going to because of time. We'll have to focus on that next episode. Now to get the stuff that you need to pay for, I got a few things to show you guys here. First off is Fanatical.
We're just going to omit the fact that these are zombie cubes.
Exactly. Everything's a zombie on this episode. This is a zombie episode. I mean, Deus Ex is so old it's dead. So that's pretty much a zombie too. So next up, we actually are going to run into more zombies when we talk about this. Fanatical has put up their Build Your Own Elite VR bundle again. where you can get 3 games for $5. Or the more you buy, the more you save, which of course has Doom, which has zombies. Wolfenstein has zombies. Fruit Ninja may have zombies. If not, Fruit Ninja 2 definitely does. And actually, what's funny, I just noticed, Behind the Frame VR is on here. So if you get the normal version and you don't like the fact that you're not in the game, just come here and purchase it and be a part of Behind the Frame. Also, Fanatical dropped out the Build Your Own Ruthless bundle, which is going to be 2 games for, I guess, $6. And of course, the more you buy, the cheaper it is. Which there's actually some pretty good stuff on here. There's some stuff that I have certain feelings on. But if you see anything you like on here, save yourself some money and load up. Finally, this is going to be more for the not so kiddies, I guess, but I'm not entirely sure what it's talking about. Indie Gala put this out. The Furry Dreams pack.
Okay.
I don't know what they're talking about here exactly.
Sexy horses.
But if you're into like a dog boy getting it on with Moose Girl, you might want to get this.
Wow.
Moose and Squirrel.
That's
What's that?
Moose and Squirrel. Why
Moose and
would you want to get on with Moose and Squirrel, huh?
So that's available to you if that's something that you're into.
there's a sexy cowgirl. Check it out.
I don't think I want to check it out anymore.
Sexy raccoon.
So
The sexy dogs. Okay, yeah. Wow.
yeah, there you go. That's all your free and purchasable stuff this week. I kind of wish Barrett was here for that bundle, because I would just love to hear his input on it. But alas, that didn't happen. So we've got that out of the way. Now, you guys ready for the topic?
Sure.
No.
Well, I'll tell you when the time is right. We're going to segment to another thing called Fancy or Quickie. So it's time for Fancy a Quickie, which is just a simple, quick question, simple answer. We're not going to talk 20 minutes on each thing, maybe 20 seconds or so. This is more for people that are like, wait, what was the topic again? Who this would be their main topic because they don't have enough attention span. So I'm going to ask a quick question here that I'm curious about. And that would be, and then I'm going to answer it so you guys could get an idea of what I'm kind of looking for here. So I'm curious, something like a general thing about games, like either a genre or a feature or something so vastly general that you just cannot stand. That's so commonplace now. And I want you to go as general as you can with this, because technically I have 3 things, but 2 of them are kind of situational, but one seems to be all too common. And the thing I hate the most, I guess, would be controller vibration. I don't understand why this is popular. I don't know why, if there's an explosion on the screen and it's shaking, why my hands have to experience the explosion. It's uncomfortable. The only thing I can see is if like you want to have the jitters when you're older, or you're a really lonely woman. But other than that, I mean, do either of you actually get excited over controller vibration?
No, I usually turn it off. But if I'm racing, sometimes when you hit like the out of the area, you can actually feel like not only that you're hitting the bumps, but like the direction of them. It's pretty cool. They've gotten pretty sophisticated. But
well, I think it does do some good things. The gamers or developers have done some good things, like using it to cue in on like maybe where there's a hidden item. But it seems like if you take like Metal Gear, Metal Gear Solid, there were times where I would just take my hand off the controller and hold the cord and just hear the controller zzz, and I didn't want to touch it. So I do the same thing. First thing I do is I go in and I turn vibration off. But I haven't heard from Ben.
It depends on how it's implemented by the game. Like you were talking about, like if there's a hidden item or something, that's always a cool thing. And then, like if you're playing a driving game and you're driving over, you're driving over the medium and it starts vibrating like you would if you were actually driving a car, how it would react. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that, I don't mind. But sometimes they throw it in there and it's just like for the sake of an explosion. Like explosions happen and you feel it vibrating and it's like I don't really need to feel that.
Yeah. I don't need to feel it just in my hands. I mean, that's not really getting me that experience. So anyway, that was mine. So Ben?
Free to play.
Really?
I'm like, these free to play games, there's just so many of them. And it's like always the same thing where like, okay, we'll let you play for 15 minutes and then if you want to keep playing, well, you either got to wait 5 hours for whatever the MacGuffin is to refill or pay us money.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Actually, hold on to that when we get to the topic. But I think that free to play is actually good but bad, and there's a lot of like the gacha games. For me, it's like okay, when you get to that point where you have to pay to go on. I enjoyed my time with it. I'm going to cut my losses and move on to something else. That's just me.
Yeah, my thing was totally going to be free to play too, but for a totally different reason. It's I mentioned this a long time ago, but it's the taking advantage of people, like the whales. Mm-hmm. It's like preying on people with problems.
I was wondering where you're going with the whales. I'm like thinking, well, what do the whales have to do with? Are we abusing the whales to get these games produced? But no, I understand now what you're saying.
We have to save the whales.
Save the whales. Pay for your games.
Yeah, I mean, I can we just have it where you buy it and then you have the full thing again? Because now, like they do it with like games you buy, you pay full price, and then they have the season pass.
But the demo thing is good. I like that. You can check out the game and see if you like it, and then you can buy more of it. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about like you go and get like they do this with they do this with all the big games now. Like Assassin's Creed will come out, and then they'll have like you can get the Assassin's Creed season pass. Mm-hmm. And when the season pass, what's it come with? Oh, new outfits and a bonus mission or something like that, and if you like the game and you want to keep it going, that's one thing, but like, to have it where every single one of these games, it's the same shit.
This is good. This is so good because you guys are going to love the topic then. So I think we've fancied that quickie long enough. I think it's time to get to the topic.
I had more, but go ahead.
Tonight's topic. Given the situation of gaming today, with a whole bunch of, like I was going to say, free games, online games, indie games coming out left and right, AAA games being just kind of crapped out for high prices, all these multiple platforms. Do you guys think that we're either looking at a crash of the gaming market similar to what happened in 1983, or the possibility of maybe a death of a system or something big happening? This is why I wanted everyone tonight and didn't want to tell you because I wanted to see what you guys were going to say about this one.
Okay. I got something.
Mm-hmm.
Want to go crazy town on this?
Yes. Go as crazy as you want.
Oh, I got crazy. Oh,
This episode is Conspiracy Theory 101. Go as wild as you want to be.
All right. All right. So, okay. I'm going to start with a small step into this. Jump into conspiracy town, or I can just jump straight to the point here. It may take a while. If you want me to actually make it I could actually make it make a little bit of sense, or I could just flip you out. And it's not. It's gonna just like I'm gonna lose you.
Go for it. However you feel you want to go at it.
All right. Okay. I'll take a little bit of a little story time here.
Okay.
So, about a year and a half ago, this whistleblower, David Grush, came out and started talking about UFO retrievals and reverse engineering of UFOs is a real thing. And, I've got a bunch of people. I spoke to the Inspector General of the intelligence community and multiple congressional oversight hearings and stuff, the big ones. So one little thing led to another in this rabbit hole. And I'm reading, let's say, a book called Skinwalkers of the Pentagon about that kind of stuff.
I need to stop you for a second. I just need to make sure you understand the topic and make sure that you're on top. Is this about gaming?
Well, it's about a crash.
Okay. All right. Go for it. Just keep going then. Keep going. Let's see where this goes.
What kind of crash?
You'll see.
And then they got in a car crash in the end. All right, go for it.
Okay, so all right, when I'm reading this book and it's all got all kinds of totally nutso stuff, I'm like, okay. When you start losing me, when you start talking about like portals to other dimensions, and I get to some stuff, and I gotta look into this, like psychic stuff. They're talking about how people are affected by UFOs and they become like psychic and stuff. So I start reading a lot, like sciencey stuff with like professors and stuff. And so it's looking like that stuff's real.
This is going to be the best episode ever. This is really going to be the best episode ever. Keep going, Matt.
All right, yeah. All right. I told you we got plenty of crazy. I could go down. Okay, I'm going to try to keep it a little bit limited here. So lots of crazy stuff's going on here. So I started reading up like decades worth of Crazy Town. Like, dude. And I've gotten obsessed with it, and now I read this stuff when I'm exercising, when I'm going to bed. I fall asleep listening to this stuff, like audiobooks, podcasts. I've gone so far over the deep end, and like if I'd heard the stuff that I was into, like a couple of years ago, I'd be like, oh shit, I thought I at least had my mental faculties. So yeah. I'm going to jump ahead quite a ways here, and I can fill in some fun stuff here to back this up. But so just in the last week, another big whistleblower came out, and a bunch of others that were from the same team of the actual crash retrievals of the UFOs. These guys have real credentials, like Green Beret dudes, with credentials the wazoo, like big military guys vouching for them. And they said that the UFOs are piloted by psychic stuff. They have actually dudes in their teams. They recruit these people like all over the world. And these guys can control these things from the ground. You gotta watch this thing. We gotta put like a link because they have to see it to believe it. And I haven't seen anything too big on any other social media stuff. That stuff's massive. It's gonna hit like big time. And now I heard a rumor. That's just a rumor, so you just take it at like the whole bunch of salt or whatever. But from two different sources, one of them was probably pretty good. That next week, Trump might talk about aliens because he promised he was going to get to the bottom and right away talk about the drones. He said they won't talk about it, and they should. And he had been getting briefings. He got presidential briefings at the time. He's acting like, oh, I don't know. Or like when he sat down with the first time he's signing stuff, and he's like, yeah, we'll get to the bottom of that. I don't know what it is, but the dude got the presidential briefings. So he said he's going to talk about it like the next day and give us the answer. And some people that have real connections said they heard next week he might be talking about aliens. Now, where I'm going with this is crash. When that happens, if that starts going everywhere, like the president starts talking that aliens are real, people are going to start freaking out. They're going to start hoarding things. It's going to be like toilet paper 2020, like for everything. Possibly. There
Are they
might
gonna
be.
So are you saying they're gonna be hoarding digital download games?
No. I'm saying that everything is going to crash. The economy might crash.
Okay.
The entire economy.
Uh,
Maybe.
This has got to be the most awesome episode we've ever had. Don't worry, people. I don't want you to panic. Just to let you know that after this episode is over, we are going to fire Matt back over to SR 388.
Yep.
So
I think his brain got taken over by one of the Metroids.
So are you saying that you think there is going to be a video game crash that's going to be associated with this regular crash?
Yeah, it's a possible everything crash because, okay, look at what happened with like remnants of COVID. I couldn't get my medicine.
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine what happened. There's people that need that stuff for a living, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that was just like, what was it? Maybe a couple of months of most stuff getting shut down. Can you imagine what kind of crazy stuff can happen if, let's say, the guy said we have 0 point energy, which will topple the oil cartel and change the entire economy of the world.
Mm-hmm.
People aren't going to be thinking about money for video games if they're worrying about being able to keep their work going.
But then when everything becomes stable, what's going to happen with the industry? Because what I'm referring to, like the video game crash of 1983, was because of an oversaturation that almost wiped video games off the map of the earth at that point. It wasn't until like Nintendo came in and basically, I hate to say it, but saved the day.
Dude, anybody would have eventually. I mean, it's video games. People had money at that time. It was just a weird glitch, you know, that everything kind of crashed, and it would have picked up. It could have been anybody, some other company out of nowhere, like Sony or something. Who knows?
So you think this overall crash is going to destroy the video game industry, but then it will revive again?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't think it will. I think it might.
Might.
I don't
Okay.
think-
Like
Not
a phoenix
necessarily.
from the ashes, it shall rise again.
Yeah. Basically, everything will always get back to the way it was. But I mean, yeah, you might be teleporting your PS9 with your mental, was it mind control spores?
Mhm.
You remember that, right? You remember that?
Well, yeah, I remember that ad. But what's interesting is that I'm sorry to tangent off of Matt's tangent, but it's kind of funny because there's that guy that predicted Trump being shot, and he then predicted that there would be a crash shortly after Trump became president, which is interesting because you're also saying there's going to be a crash. So this might be the episode of prophecy on the BM show to get ready for what's coming, people.
Yeah, I don't know if people need to hoard stuff. It's necessarily, or you know, maybe it's be good to have a little bit more of your stuff, but you don't need to go and fill your closets or your garage full of toilet paper like I've seen happen. I mean,
I'm about to buy 300 cases of toilet paper. Do I buy this?
Just buy a bidet, man.
no, don't
Buy 300
don't
cases
buy
a day?
toilet paper ever. It's a scam, man. You don't want the toilet paper. Just they mail you stuff and you get paper for free. Just kidding.
Oh, I can use my bills.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I was going to use those flyers that come, vote for me. Those seem like the things that you might just want to use to wipe.
Yeah,
It's true.
that's about right.
So Ben,
Yes.
what's your feelings on this? Because I'm not going after what just Matt, because I think Matt just stole the show at this point. So I'm passing it to you at this point. What do you think? Do you think there's going to be a crash? What do you think we're looking at in the future of gaming?
I don't think there's ever going to be a crash. It's too big of an industry. The only thing that makes more money in the video games is porn.
Hmm.
So, and that's
With
because sex
VR.
always sells.
With VR, you're pretty much getting there to merge those two.
It's yeah. I mean, like it's so much money goes into it, and so many people are into it. The only thing you might see is some companies might go away that you might not. I think that anyways, that companies you never thought would go and disappear will end up disappearing. You know, if you want to, I mean, I'm trying to stay into video games because where Matt went, I don't want to even get close to that. Yeah, so I think with video games, like the current state, there's a lot of people who are pissed off with like the way things are. EA is looked at as like this big giant evil corporation, and where I remember EA had an 800 number, and I used to call the 800 number every single week to find out what games are coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And EA was like the symbol of excellence in third-party publishing for Sega Genesis, at least. And now it's like, oh, it's an EA game. It's going to be broken as soon as we get it. It's going to be nothing but the same game as last year, just with new rosters. And, you know, like, what's the point of getting it then? And every time they come out with any, like, they have all these loot boxes, and you want to talk about season passes. They're going to have all that. All that shit's getting worse. It's getting worse. And they're saying that Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming out next year, or this year, and they say that the price tag is going to be close to $100. And they say that all the companies want that to happen because now they can go and price their game from $60, $70, $80, $90 and say, well, at least we're still cheaper than Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, wow.
You know, so and the thing is, if you do need that much money because your games cost that much to make, then you do. Then tell people that. You know, people are not like stupid. They know that this stuff costs money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can look back at like Nintendo games were $50 back in the 80s.
Yeah.
So if you take inflation on there, then yeah, you're looking at, you know, $80, $90, $100 or whatever for the same game today.
Well, yeah, I mean, like games used to be expensive. Like Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time was $70, and that was back in the 90s when $70 is worth probably what like 200's worth now.
Yeah.
So the prices, if anything, video game prices have not stayed with inflation and technically have gone down. So there are reasons we're getting all this online or this add-on packs where they give you just the bare game, just enough of the story where the game makes sense. And that's being done because of the games are costing them more to make than they thought, and in order for them to make the money that they want to make, they have to sell it piecemeal.
If you think about how much was put into Grand Theft Auto games, it blew my mind. I could just watch TV and have fun watching this virtual TV in GTA 4. It was just absurd the amount of thought.
Oh, dude, you got to play online. The online one, the virtual TV, in that you can watch other people's games. So you can watch somebody else go through this whole thing where they're getting chased by the cops and like, I mean, might give you ideas or just do it because like one time I did it, I sat there for like half an hour just watching other people like get in trouble. The thing is, when you play online, there's people who go hunting other players.
Yeah.
Because if you're a player, your name shows up above your head, like your online username. So they go around looking for other players, and they only shoot like living players. It's crazy. I was like, all of a sudden, I'm like just walking around, and all of a sudden, some guy just shows up and just starts shooting me.
Yeah,
a lot of those type of games where they have the PvP stuff that's out in the open.
And they all have like flying bikes and stuff, and my guy doesn't have like a flying bike. I don't even know how to get a fucking flying bike, and they're flying around in like flying motorcycles, like this futuristic, like it could hover in air, and it's shit that like this. Just trying to think of the physics behind it and how we could actually make something like that kind of blows my mind. But it's a video game, so they're obviously able to make it there. But it's like, because that's the thing. Grand Theft Auto it's very life based, for like the physics and how the cars are and everything. You want to talk about like a moneymaker though, like that online one. The reason these people have their flying cars is because they sold it as an online thing that you can get as an add-on to the game.
Yeah.
Back on that bicycle for a second, and it's so. Yeah.
So you're just saying that basically everything's going to stay the same, nothing's going to change,
and that's going to hurt the industry because you got people are going to finally get tired of it.
Mhm.
I mean, I know I'm tired of it. I'm sure you're tired of it. I mean, how many times do you want to go and pay multiple times for the same game? Like,
Mhm.
why don't they just, instead of coming out with a new game every year, just do an update pack for it if it's the same engine, if it's the same game essentially, like
Mhm.
the NFL games or the wrestling games or
Yeah,
baseball, any of the sports games.
but why sell you a download of like, a small patch when they can sell you a whole game?
Yep.
But the thing is
Yep.
like the people who are going to be paying for this over and over and over again, they're going to get less and less and less and less. This is going to be, you're talking about like it's not going to die like it did in 1983. This is going to be a gradual death. Like it's just going to get less and less people every year buying the same product to
Mhm.
the point where it's going to be like, okay, eventually nobody's buying the game anymore.
Mhm.
And then they're gonna like then you'll see it. What they'll do, okay, we'll do an add-on pack every year. So if you buy Madden 30, it's the last version of Madden you'll ever have to buy unless you never bought it before. Then Madden 31 will just have the updates already rolled into it. You
Mhm.
know, and that's what they should do. They should do that with all the sports titles and just have it where you pay $70 heck, if you're doing it for the base game, you could actually bring the price up. If you want to match Grand Theft Auto, say $100 for the first game, and then $40 every single year to get the add-on that will update the game to the latest version.
Mhm. But eventually, you're
Or
going to
you,
have to
you,
update
you
the
could get
game.
the subscription package where you could pay for 5 years of updates.
But I mean, eventually, they're going to have to update the game to where it has to be a new version. I mean, because you can't say Madden 94 plays the same as Madden 2024.
When you come out with a new console, you'll have to come out with a new version. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So you won't be able to say like use your PlayStation 4 version and the PlayStation. I mean, you can do that anyways.
Yeah, they've
You can play
started
the
updating
PlayStation
this.
4 version in the PlayStation 5, but the PlayStation 4 version will use an older engine. It won't have some of the features. Where the PlayStation 5 one, the graphics will be sharper, and it might have like I don't know the return of some mode that they took out years ago because they love doing that.
So actually, that's interesting you go there. Because, well, is there anything else you want to add on that? Sorry, before I jump in.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So I don't think there's going to be a crash like 1983. I do see a lot of issues, and yes, a lot of people complain about pricing and a lot of people buying less. But there are a lot of games that are coming out that are more in the $20 range as well too, and that's why indie games have taken off as large as they have. But I do see a lot of issues, especially when you've got right now you've got Nintendo, Sony, and Xbox. PC gaming seems to have really picked up a lot due to Steam, probably around early 2010 era. Half-Life 2 did a good amount as far as PC gaming, and then Portal 2, and then Steam just really took off. To the point where when Nintendo Switch got big, obviously now you wouldn't have a Steam Deck without the Nintendo Switch. And it seems like with the Steam Deck, with the way the Steam Deck went, now everyone's hopping on board and they want to do consoles like Lenovo's got their console that's running Windows, and all these other companies are coming out with these consoles. I think that we're looking at not a crash, but we're looking at the death of a system soon that's very similar to what happened with the Dreamcast with Sega. I'm not 100% sure who it is, but I have a feeling I know who the most likely to die would be in this situation. And that would be bye-bye PlayStation. The reason being is Nintendo, I think Nintendo is very safe because it's grown its fan base. Even though we all know it's a crap company, we all know that Nintendo has those first-party titles that are so massive. Everyone knows Mario. Everyone knows Zelda. Everyone but Matt knows Metroid. It's so Nintendo with the Switch, And that's another thing. I want to jump in and mention there was something that I believe Stephen Baldwin said that was very interesting about the movie industry. In an interview, he mentioned something about what rating makes the most money out of all the movie ratings out there. And he mentioned the most lucrative movies were actually G movies. And if you think about what Nintendo does, Nintendo is basically kind of the G-rated console out of the majority of them. So I think Nintendo really plays it safe with what they do, and they do some really good stuff. So I think that the Switch 2 is probably going to do just as well as the Switch. For Xbox, I think Xbox with Game Pass, and being that Game Pass is both PC and Xbox, that's going to benefit them a lot because there's a lot of stuff going on PC now. And if you factor in like the Steam Deck and all these other devices are coming out that are Windows based, they're all going to be able to run Steam, and then you can look at how Game Pass is going to work with them and so forth. But I mean, PlayStation, and now I'm not as big into the systems as I used to be, so I'm not sure what first party titles Sony really has. But I don't think they're going to be on the level that Nintendo's first party titles would be. And I think we're getting to the point where people are like, well, I have a PlayStation 5, I have an Xbox One, I have a Nintendo Switch, I have a Steam Deck, I have a this, I have a that. I have just way too many consoles as is. And with everything going so multi-platform as it is anyway, I don't think they're all going to stick around. That's my feelings.
I think it's going to be more service-based. Like you were talking about Game Pass and stuff. Like I see that. Like Microsoft, the fact that they've been doing hardware now for as long as they have is very surprising to me because they've never been a hardware company.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in order for them to make the original Xbox, they had to go and they had to buy out Sega's hardware division in order to make it happen because they didn't have one. So it's I think that you're going to see Xbox will probably eventually go away. PlayStation, on the other hand, PlayStation is just a huge brand.
It's a huge brand, but it's I don't think it's doing anything that the other ones aren't doing. I think that's noticeable. It's starting to get noticeable, at least.
Well, they've always
put money that it would be Xbox also, but the fact that Microsoft has Game Pass, I think that's a thing that just might save them.
Yeah, but hardware-wise, I mean, I could see Xbox Game Pass eventually being a service that's offered on a PlayStation console.
If that does happen, then I would flip it and say that Xbox is going bye-bye. So.
Yeah, because I think that because people still think PlayStation's become like a term where people just go and say like instead of playing video games, I'm gonna go play PlayStation.
Yeah, but I mean, Sega was also just as much a term, and they're not.
Nintendo was. No one ever went. Like, I mean, I guess some people went and said I want to go play Sega, but most people said I'm going to go play Nintendo.
Yeah.
Like my grandparents called it that. They probably, if I asked my grandmother now, she'd probably still call it Nintendo. Yeah.
And she'd right, depending on what you're doing.
What's that?
She'd technically be right, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah. Where like with PlayStation, like I'm on my PlayStation 3 right now while I'm talking to you, and it's like, you know, I have a PlayStation 3, a PlayStation 2, and a PlayStation 5.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just like when you think about game consoles, like most of the people I know who have a modern day console, they have if they only have one of them, most of them have a PlayStation. So I'm more of an Xbox person. Like if I had only one, I'd have an Xbox. But that's like I grew up playing Sega. You know, like I've always picked like the B brand, I guess. But like I think PlayStation, for Nintendo, I think Nintendo will do hardware. Nintendo will do hardware, and they will stick with handhelds, which is what they've been doing. That's like the Switch is technically a handheld system that you can play on the TV.
Well, I think Nintendo's flipped to doing that style, and they're going to continue to do that style. They're going to focus on what's going to be both handheld and not handheld at the same time.
And I predicted that years ago because I'm like, every time these people do a system, they will do a handheld system and a home system. Nobody wants the home system and the handheld system. They can't keep them in stock.
Yeah.
So they should just stick with handheld, and that's pretty much what they did. Throwing in it does have a docking station, so you could play it on your TV, but it's a handheld system.
Mhm.
Matt took off. He's had enough of us.
Yeah. So I don't know, but that's just kind of I mean, like, what is the fact that everything's so multi-platform now? What is it that PlayStation and Xbox really have that's unique about them?
Xbox, you get more value for your buck because they're eternally in second place. PlayStation has more exclusive titles.
So that's the thing. That's what I'm looking for. What are the exclusive titles on Xbox and what are the exclusive titles on PlayStation?
Well, here's the thing. There aren't really exclusive titles on Xbox anymore because Game Pass kind of killed that.
True.
If you're talking about like a console exclusive, they have console exclusives, but they don't really have exclusives.
Like, what are console exclusives right now on PlayStation 5 and what are console exclusives on Xbox?
That is a fantastic question, and the question that me and my people are really going to look into, and I don't have something in front of me.
Okay,
exactly. That's why I'm saying that I think it's getting to the point where people aren't going to keep buying consoles. Just like you're talking about all these games getting overpriced. Consoles are freaking $600, $700 nowadays. People aren't going to go, okay, it's time for me to buy a new Xbox, a new PlayStation 3, and a new Nintendo system, as well as this new, I don't know what else is going to come out system.
And you said it right there, Nintendo, they're the ones who have the big exclusives when you break it down, because Mario is more recognizable than Mickey Mouse is.
Yeah.
All the people at the church, their kids, they all got Nintendo Switches. It's the number one top selling console of all time. Even though PlayStation 2 is trying to somehow say, no, I'm still the top console. Did you hear about that? They released new numbers. Sony literally released new numbers that try to keep Sony's PlayStation 2 in first place. And I'm like, all you're doing is just pushing off the inevitable. The Switch is gonna overshadow everything. But it's actually.
The Switch 2 is coming out, but the PlayStation 6 is not yet, so they may still up them.
But the PlayStation 5 not that old.
Yeah, but
exactly.
It's not the PlayStation 5, not the PlayStation consoles in the whole as a whole, Matt. I'm talking about PlayStation 2. Yeah. They're still bringing out numbers saying that the PlayStation 2 is still the best-selling console of all time because the Switch beat the numbers that people were assuming were the sales figures. Mm-hmm. And Sony said, no, it's actually 40,000 more than that. So now I'm like, okay, well, how long is it going to take them to sell 40,000 more Switches? Probably about a week. So people are, even when the Switch 2 comes out, the Switch 2 is going to be $500. Nintendo's going to cut the price of the Switch 1 probably down to $200 and keep it around. Because remember when Nintendo and the Super Nintendo were out at the same time? They didn't immediately abandon the old system. They never do that. Yeah. They're not like Microsoft who immediately cuts the other system immediately at the knees.
Yeah.
So you're gonna see for a while. You're gonna see there's gonna be the Switch and the Switch 2 are gonna be both on the market, and it's gonna be like, okay, for $250 you can pick up or $200, $250, whatever they set the price at. You can pick up a Switch 1, or you can pay $500 and get the Switch 2, which is gonna have a better processor. I would say more colors. They already hit every color that you could think of, so that's not even a point anymore. So you got a better processor, more memory, bigger games, faster loading times, better camera, nicer touchscreen. I don't know.
Vibration that gets you somewhere else. So you were talking about exclusives for Sony. I was thinking about eventually getting a PS5 or whatever at some point, but all the games I was wanting to get I never got a PS4 either, but all the games I was wanting to get for those, especially the PS4, have now started coming out on PC.
Yeah, that's another thing. Sony started releasing their stuff on PC as well. So like these and like and you say, like, these companies, they're sacrificing their own market, and then kind of they are in a way, but at the same time, if you're just looking to play video games, do you want to go and sit there and learn what kind of processor you need to get with what kind of board and what kind of video card you need and how much RAM do you need in order to make this all work? Or just go down to the store, spend $500 and pick up a PlayStation and call it a day?
Yeah, that's the good about consoles.
Yeah,
It simplifies that process.
it takes all the guesswork out of it. You don't have to worry about, oh, let me look at the requirements for this game and the recommended settings for these games. Does my computer have enough to handle this? None of that. Also, when you put the game in there, you don't have to worry about, is Steam installed? Do I have to have their DRM thing in there?
Oh yeah, I like consoles more. I would actually be only console guy, except I have computers left over from a few years ago that were, pretty good, I guess, at the time. And so, I've got basically a PS4 plus 4.5, just sitting there already. So that's why I'm using PCs.
But on that same argument, Ben, is that if you're doing the PC route where you are, going through all that and figuring all that out, you look at it as like, well, I can play, I don't know, like Grand Theft Auto 5, that's only on PlayStation. I know it's not only on PlayStation, but I can play it on PC, and I can play Halo Infinite. And then the console person's like, well, I can play Grand Theft Auto 5, but I have a PlayStation 5, so I can't play Halo Infinite. So now I got to turn around and spend a whole big another chunk of money and take up room to get this other console just so I can play this other game. So in a sense, it becomes you're spending pretty much the same amount of money in a way, because you're not buying just one system that you have to put together, or buying one that's already put together that's hopefully going to run all this stuff, but you're buying multiple multiple consoles at $500-$600 a pop.
Yeah, no, I get that too. It's that's why I'm saying, like, it takes all the guesswork out of it. And in a way, it's a quick fix, because then you do run down the road where, okay, you bought the Xbox Series X and God of War 10 just came out and you want to play the new God of War game. Or there's a new Uncharted. They somehow got the cast back together and did another Uncharted game. It's like you can't play those games on Xbox. And in return, you're bringing up Halo. You can't play the Halo game on the PlayStation, but some of these games are available on Windows. And that's why Nintendo ends up becoming the big winner in all this, because you can't play Mario and Zelda unless you do emulators and stuff. And we're not talking about emulators here. This is legit. You actually bought a code or whatever, and you actually own it software, because I could see the comment section already. Well, why didn't you just emulate everything? This emulator is really great. Here, I'm going to give you the link, and you're stupid for not using it, moron. And then you just shut the fuck up, okay? If you do it all legit, Nintendo becomes the real winner in the whole thing, because you can't play their games on anything else, and everybody else is going non-exclusive on their stuff. It's like console exclusive, but it's also on PC.
I mean, that's why it's like, are these other consoles like putting themselves through just a slow death, whereas Nintendo already knows how to manipulate the system and keep themselves alive? Well,
also Nintendo's the only company that makes money off their hardware on day one. Mm-hmm. Every one of them, all the other ones, they all took a loss. Like, people are like, the PlayStation 3 is going to be $600. I'm like, yeah, and it cost them $850 to make it. Mm-hmm. So they're losing $250 for every single one that they sell. Is it still the most expensive system on the market at the time? Yes. But, you get what you pay for. Go ahead.
Well, maybe that might be best for all these consoles, is to let themselves die out and then go strictly to the software like Sega's doing. Because now with all these new consoles that are coming out that are Windows-based, or you can go back to the Steam Deck, which is Linux-based, they're now not having to worry about all this new hardware every 5 years or 6 years and taking a loss at everyone that's sold, and just stick to, we made a game, here it is, download it, and we're just raking in the money at that point.
Well, I mean, also, like, there's the death of physical media, where, like,
Yep.
I barely have any games on disc anymore. All my stuff is digital, and I'm somebody with a gigantic DVD collection, but that's because I have the movies physically, because that's a whole nother rigmarole. But with the gaming, it's if you don't have to produce the hardware and you don't have to sell, you don't have to sell the hardware, that takes that entire thing out of it, and then you just have the Xbox Game Pass versus PlayStation Plus, and then you can just go and say, okay, you got a Windows machine, and you can either get PlayStation Plus and play the PlayStation games, or you can get the Game Pass and play the Xbox games, or you can get them both, and it only costs you like $30 a month or something, or whatever the price is, which I think for PlayStation Plus is actually considerably higher. I know the Xbox Game Pass is like $15. We discussed that like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And so that you could do that, and yes, you're still not owning anything, but you get access to these games. And that's another thing is like even if it's digital now, you don't own it anymore because they can just go and say, well, we're going to unlist it from the store, and we're going to tell your computer to uninstall it, which they've done with books. They do that with a Kindle. If you got like a Kindle and there's a book that they don't have the rights to anymore, they will tell your Kindle to delete the book.
Oh wow, I didn't know that they could do that.
Yeah,
well, I guess going through Kindle software, right?
Yeah.
No, like if you actually own like a Kindle, like the actual their device,
like Kindle Fire tablet.
Yeah. Like I don't know if they might be able to do it through their software too, but I know for a fact that they can do it on the actual Kindle readers.
Yeah, like if you have
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, if you have like a tablet that has a bunch of books on it, you use it just for reading, then you take it offline all the time just in case whatever happens.
Well, they have their actual Kindle readers have this thing called Whisper, which is a cellular network card that's built into them, and it's literally used to transfer books to it. And they can use the Whisper to also take books off of it.
And they have to give it a name that's really creepy, like Whisper.
Yeah, and it's like because I used to own one. I think I had the model that didn't have Whisper included, but you can get one with the Whisper included. And I remember reading about it, and it was like you don't have to pay any additional fee. It's a contract that they have with Verizon, where as long as you're in a Verizon network and you order a book, it will automatically just show up on your tablet. And that's all it did though. Like it wasn't like you can't watch movies, you can't surf the internet. It's not a web service. It's literally just for that one thing.
But going back to your point, yeah, I can't stand it when you can't play a game anymore because they took the servers down.
Bingo. That's where I was going to.
Yeah, well, if it's an online game, that becomes an issue. But there's certain games that, like, as long as you have it on your system before the store closes. Like my PlayStation 3, I got a bunch of games on there, and you can't even buy games on there. Oh, I think you can still buy games, but it's really hard to do. They're trying to close it, but people won't let them.
That's not always the case, because I know that, like, I believe it's Guilty Gear Strive is one of those that in order to get into it, it checks to make sure you have internet connection. And that's not just Steam actually doing it, it's the game doing it. So if you don't have connection to the server, then I believe it boots you out of the game completely, even if you're going to do offline mode. So that's basically going to be a paperweight once those servers are gone.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a check to make sure you bought it legit, but but because you did, you're screwed eventually.
It's like the Xbox has to be online every day. It has to do an online check.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, what if you have your internet's out for like a week? I'm only allowed to play the game the first day of the outage. That's got to beat. That's why it's good to have, like, I have the PlayStation 2 now, and my Lexar memory card that I bought for this thing is a 1 terabyte Lexar memory card, and I'm having trouble with it.
Okay, you can't use a SanDisk.
You can't use a SanDisk on it. I know. I don't know why. It's incompatible with the number one freaking thing in SD cards.
That's crazy.
It's like if you bought a car and it says does not work with Shell gasoline.
Yeah. All right. So does anyone else have anything they want to add to this conversation, this topic?
I rest my case.
So, all right. So just to kind of go over what's coming up next week, was Ben and I were going to discuss the shows that ended too soon, series that were cut before they really should have been. And then the 9th, we had February 9th, we were going to do Sabrina and Gothic Lolita Psycho. The 16th was open, and Ben, I want to throw this at you because this was kind of my idea. If you have a different idea, throw one back at me. 16th, I want to do something called Control C, Control V, which is games, movies, shows, music, anything where that specific thing had the idea, well, it worked this way perfectly, so let's just copy and paste it again for the next one. And it has to be something that isn't like, well, Silent Hill copied Resident Evil. It has to be like Resident Evil 4 copied Resident Evil 3, which is a bad example, but you kind of get my idea, where it's within that specific company or that band or that director, whatever, saying it worked this way, so I'm just going to do it again. What do you think of that?
I guess I can probably think of stuff on that.
Okay. And then following that was the I want to see if we can do another BM squared at the end of the month. So Matt, if you're free, let me know. My idea for a topic for that one was talking about our feelings on remakes, remastered collections, and downloadable content and additional content releases.
When is that again?
That would be the last week of February, which I believe is going to be around the 23rd of February, last Sunday in February.
Cool. All right, just remind me ahead of time. We'll see what happens. I like the idea of the TV shows were canceled because there's so many of those.
You're welcome to join us next week if you'd like, Matt.
All right, let's see what's going on.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I got a lot of old ones that I really want to bring up.
It's crime against humanity sometimes, leaving it on a cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did you hear that they want to end The Simpsons? I mean, it's only been on for 30-something years. I mean, it hasn't even hit their stride yet.
Dude, we don't
That's
have
a good one to bring up next week, Ben. Please make sure you do. So
or Family Guy, they want to cancel that too. It's only been on for 27 years.
So on that note, I believe we're going to go ahead and call it. So thank you for listening, and we will see you or you'll hear from us next week. And we'll give Matt the last word tonight. Go ahead, Matt.
Kumquat.
Welcome to the Nerd Fest, where we chat and joke, binge on movies and games till we're utterly broke. Ben and Mike, they got that banter flow. Welcome everybody to the BM show. Laugh out loud, it's the place to be, where geeky minds meet so naturally. From pixel legends to blockbuster heart, dive right in, let's set this vibe apart.